Yes, and let's throw this in here.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Smarter Conversations one.
Yeah.
Here's the one about lack of decency and bad jokes. This is the one that I can be on. I'm allowed to run under that banner right there. What's going on? Once again, shoot the shit with Joey Zaza, taking it nice and chill. Le dejé regalito y juguete a los reyes para que me trajeran yerba. Happy Reyes to everybody out there.
Oh my
And
goodness, you made me take a second look. I'm like, what?
I mean, for those who don't know, it's Three Kings Day. It's the day that the three kings arrived at the manger where Jesus was, and all that, whatever. And the tradition is the kids go out, they get boxes or whatever, and they put grass in there. The grass is supposed to be for the camels. Then the three kings who come by, they'll let their camels eat the grass, and they'll leave toys. They'll leave gifts. That's our Christmas. So we say it's the other way around. We leave toys and gifts, so this way they'll leave us grass. And that's where I'm at today. Because today we're talking about chill back. Well, they don't have to be chill back, they can be action packed, whatever. But we're talking about movies, but not just any movie, movies that we feel and that you guys feel nobody has touched yet.
Okay.
Be it good, be it bad. We can throw some bad ones in there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're gonna throw a few out there.
Yeah. If it's so bad that it's good, Hollywood don't mind.
You know what I mean? It could be
Apparently, there's no
something
such thing as bad publicity.
Hey,
Exactly.
what about my idea from earlier on? The fuck you going? We're gonna
Fuck you
call the
going.
movie "The Fuck You Going," and it's gonna be about the first guy who invented a canoe. And when everybody saw him leave, the fuck you going? But speaking of that, I think it's kind of easy to make movies on the first. The first to do this, the first to do that. Maybe there should be something other than the first. Let's start it off with that. What you guys think?
Yeah, that's definitely something that it has been overused, and just like you said, it's easy. It's easy to just be like, oh, the first person that did that, the first person who did this. But nobody really talks about like the legacy. Like, okay, so and so did this, but 20 years later, where we at? Like, what changed? What stayed the same? Do we even remember so and so? Do we still talk about him or her? So that's definitely a good thing to think about.
Him or her? That's. I think that's a key element too. Right off the top of my head, but then again, I'm real picky with movies. I just won't watch anything. You know what I mean? It really, not just the trailer, but the movie itself has about 5 minutes to catch my attention. Otherwise, I'll turn it the fuck off. I don't. And at least in my opinion, there haven't been enough about women. You know what I mean? For you to say it's 50-50, we're going 50-50 on it.
Oh, yeah, nowhere near 50-50. Yeah.
Because
So,
there are some real life Wonder Women out there.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Heidi
Minus
Lamar.
the superpowers and barely.
Do you guys know who Heidi Lamar is?
No.
Mm-mm.
But
I
if
have
you
not
see her
studied
face-
on any of the ideas you guys have sent me, just so I can sit back and enjoy this one.
If you guys study, I honestly don't know if they made a film about her. They should. But the truth of the matter
So wait, is Heidi Lamar your first nominee? Your first nomination?
she's my first nominee. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so people that deserve biopics. First person is Heidi Lamar.
Heidi Lamar. And
Right.
and honestly, it's because she was you'll know exactly who she is once you see her face. She was the one that actually she's like one of those bombshells Hollywood movie 1920 goddesses. Hi mom, happy birthday. It's Carmen's birthday, everybody. So yeah, Heidi Lamar is just like, oh my goodness, the epitome of beauty and definitely my kind of lady. But she also is an inventor.
We're
And they
talking black and
only
white movies with the dramatics,
look her up. Or I mean, I
looking
don't
at
know
the
if I could
sides and shit.
share a screen. Can I share? I forgot how to share here. Share screen.
You got it?
Yes. I'll share the entire screen so you guys, or the window, or Chrome tab. There you go. So you'll see the tab. Do you see her face?
Let me help you out right here. Yeah.
Does she look familiar now?
She does actually, yeah.
The resting bitch face?
She's the inventor of the resting bitch face.
Oh, she's not the inventor of the resting bitch face, but they definitely used her. But she's known as like this Hollywood goddess, you know, and she was actually a pioneer that invented Wi-Fi. Okay.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's the one that first invented wireless communication. And it was during World War I, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
That she put this together, and she's and I think the love interest in what's her name? What's this movie? The Captain America. Margaret. They made her look a lot like Heidi Lamar because that was kind of what they were trying to kind of like give a wink to.
I see it.
Not only you can see it very clearly.
Yeah.
Not only, you know, you had the attitude, but you also had the fact that the woman was fucking brilliant and she was beautiful and she had all these accomplishments. And so had she been taken a little bit more seriously, she would have been able to push things a little bit more. But, you know, Hollywood. And and that's another podcast, a little dark pod. We remember how we talked about that witchy idea. That's something that I'd like to delve into, a little bit of darkness there. But yeah, definitely. Heidi Lamar had my first. I can stop sharing now. But Heidi Lamar was my first choice because the woman, you know, she was an inventor, she was a pioneer, she was an engineer. But they only know her because she was just beautiful on the screen. That's all people know her for. You know, it wasn't until recently, and it was only because I was doing research on like outstanding women for, you know, for my students to help them learn how to research. Okay, let's do this, let's do that. We'll focus on different topics and themes.
So since we're on the track of beautiful people, my first pick is Teddy Atlas.
But that's a good one. That's
Teddy Atlas is really, really interesting. Okay, he actually studied and boxed on an amateur level under Customato.
El que entrenó Mike Tyson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which is why he had a hand in training Mike. Okay, but he's had a few champions under his belt. You know, he was also though they didn't really bring home a medal, right? He actually trained, I think it was in 1980 Olympics boxing team.
The U.S. boxing
and for
team?
the record, that was the year that Cuba se quedó con todo. You know what I mean? Cuba se quedó con todo. It was like, no, there's no competition, right? But due to a back injury is why he couldn't continue fighting, but he continued training. Now, this is it's tied into Cuss, you know what I mean? So you would think, well, maybe, you know, Cuss should have either a huge role in this or the movie should be about Cuss. But Cuss not only trained pro fighters and champions, Cuss trained trainers to train his way, which is what made those trainers that good. And Teddy is just one of those guys that to this day, he has, I don't know how many fighters under his belt. I don't know how many champions. Over 20 years experience on, I think it's ESPN. I don't know how many decades on Showtime, I think it is. Comment, this dude has always been around boxing. And one of the few, if not the only one, to put a gun to Tyson's head and let him know you're not the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
Oh, shit. That's you may have answered my question by saying that, but if they make this movie, what's the scene that you want to see? What's the scene that's gonna like forever stay in your head after you leave the movie theater? Is it that one, the gun to the head thing?
No, I think it would be his transition from fighter to trainer.
Okay. And Sandy, I didn't get the chance to ask, but for you, same question. For your first person, what's the scene that you want to see, the one that's gonna stay with you forever, like long after you leave the theater?
I guess what it would be the fact that she was able to finally get credit for, because remember, this was a different time for women.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the fact that she would get credit and be taken seriously on actually getting her recognition for being an engineer and supporting it.
Yeah.
And doing what we all are taking advantage of right now. Because
right.
We all,
John, what would be yours? Your first pick?
No doubt. My first pick would be a king from the 18th century. His name was, and you're gonna have to forgive my pronunciation, King Kamehameha. He was the unifier and actually the first ruler of Hawaii before it became a state and all that. A lot of people forget.
Yeah, because after it became a state, the ruler of Hawaii would be Max Holloway, right?
Well, sure.
He used to be BJ Penn till he got knocked the fuck out. Bro.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
No, it was just joking. BJ Penn is a fucking legend.
He
is a BJJ legend.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
So a lot of people forget that like Hawaii isn't just one nice little island like Puerto Rico or even like the Dominican Republic or Cuba, whatever. It's an archipelago. It's a whole bunch of islands chopped up, similar to Japan, similar to archipelago. There you go. Just like Japan, just like the Philippines. So you can't just like rule it the same way you can rule one country because you got water in the way, you got different cultures in the way. So for the longest time in their history, they had different rulers and different wars and just a bunch of bullshit.
This is my land, that's your land.
Exactly. Uh-huh. And he was the first one to unify them. He has a story very similar to like Moses because supposedly he was born. When he was born, Halley's Comet appeared, and they saw it as an omen of him being not just a great king one day, but a great conqueror. And the guy who was king at the time, who was his dad, was like, you got to kill this baby. I want this baby dead, and I want him dead now. So his mom was like, we're not having that. Right, yeah. So his mom was like, we're not having that, and sent him away. And he was spirited away by a group of soldiers. So for the longest time, he was raised by soldiers. And it has its pros and cons. He learned the art of war. He was an amazing warrior. But he never really had a childhood. He was a nomad. He lived like on the beach always. Never played. He couldn't be a kid. He had no one to play with. He was always.
The further back you go, the less opportunity they had to be kids.
Yeah, that's true. But it was especially bad for him, and that's how he got his name.
They have all the opportunities in the world, and they want to grow up too quick.
Exactly, and that's actually how he got his name. Kamehameha means the lonely one because he never had peers and shit.
That's a strong first round right there because you have an inventor, a king, and Teddy Atlas.
So far, so good, I think.
But they all somehow or another have to do with war. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, there are quite a few people who bring companies and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Big companies that bring Teddy in to speak about mental toughness. Because apparently that's what he's known for, is that mental toughness, and that's what he does for. There's there's a championship fight right now off the top of my head. I can't remember. I'm but so old, right? So yeah, there were a lot of classic fights important to boxing history that were way before my time. But there's this one fight where they criticized Teddy, kind of like that MMA fight we saw not too long ago, that they were just too rough on the fighter. The fighter, after a really hard round, tried to go into the corner, and Teddy apparently blocked him off. Didn't let him sit on the stool. It was like, yo, you want me to take your place? Because you're not fucking doing anything. And so to this day, he'll deny, no, I never said that, whatever. But the fighter's manager said, you know what? That fighter won by unanimous decision. It was almost a landslide, and we all owe it all to Teddy. Teddy had a way of telling people what they needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
If you
So
didn't like
that's
it,
like
if
that
you didn't
fight that
like it, it
happened-
was because it wasn't for your ears.
Right.
Exactly. So it was like that fight that happened. That female, what I think it was her husband that was her corner, and that he was just screaming at her.
Yeah, but the difference is, didn't she lose?
I believe she did.
That's the difference.
Yeah, and but not only that, it's just that what I was gonna say was that the commenters, I forgot the commentators. I think it was John
Anik.
Yeah, I think it was John Anik. He was saying it's like I don't like
There
the
were
way
quite a
that
few people
sounds.
who just weren't happy
But
with
the
it.
truth of the matter is, you don't know the dynamic between that corner and the fighter. And that's very, very true, because it took you a while to figure out what made me work, you know? But you did figure it out,
Well,
and now you
here's
know.
an unfortunate, and I guess to say I'm victim of it. Not victim, but I'm guilty of it, because I also saw it that way. But if a male trainer is screaming at the male fighter, he's getting in his head, he's trying to do what he has to do. If a male trainer that happens to be the husband is yelling the same way at that female fighter, there's a possibility of domestic violence.
Right.
And like I said, I'm guilty of it because I thought that when I saw it. It was like, dude, there's kind of like a line you're going past.
Right.
But hey, like
I
Sandy
didn't
said,
see the
only they'll
domestic
know the inner
violence
workings
thing.
of their shit.
I didn't see the domestic violence thing at all. I just saw that whatever he was trying to do, it wasn't working.
Oh, that was obvious.
Yeah, because and it's just because of her reaction, and you saw it in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to stoke a fire by blowing too much wind. Anyways,
next round.
Oh, let me ask the scene that I would immortalize, and it's funny because it piggybacks off your mental toughness thing. He was able to do everything he did because he adopted Western technology. He didn't like shun it or whatever. And his first exposure to it was on the boat of this guy named Captain Cook. That was his real name.
James Cook.
Yeah. James Cook. And James Cook did this supposedly to like, let me show you what our cannons can do. But it was really like an intimidation tactic. Yeah. He had Kamehameha and a bunch of his vassals on the boat, and he let the cannons just boom, just shoot off, right? Now, this is the first time these natives see this shit, hear this shit, right? So they're freaking the fuck out. Kamehameha, stoic, no response. Legend says he was 7 feet tall, literally. And they're all freaking out and shit, and he's just staring off into the water like this, just gangster. That's the scene I want to see.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting. Sandy.
Next round.
Next round.
So, it's more because I'm curious than anything.
So, yeah.
Peter Dinklage.
Really?
Okay, all right. We go from talking about my 7 foot tall guy to Peter. Okay.
And he's a giant, okay? And that is why. This man has found himself, in a fucking
You say me, and all I got in my head is him going,
heat.
There's monsters amongst us, and I got a pound of some killer shrooms.
Word. That sounds more like it, right? But that's, this dude has been he went through some shit to be able to be as successful as he is right now.
Yeah.
And it's because he refused to play the little people role, a leprechaun.
Munchkin.
He did not. He would not do it. And
Isn't he the only one? Well, at least the one that I can think of, the only one that's actually had the opportunity in 2 separate movies to play the same character?
Yes. In Death at a Funeral.
Death at a Funeral.
Correct.
He played in the English version,
yes,
and in the American version, the
Correct.
Same character.
Oh shit!
Same character,
which is cool because he gets it as an
fantastic.
artist. Anything that he feels that he didn't do in the first one, he can portray in the second one.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
yes, and
good.
this man. I think he's underlooked, and pardon the pun. But he's underlooked because I don't want to say overlooked because it tends like, oh, they just looked over and they skimmed over. He's there. Yeah, no, he's underlooked in the sense that nobody even gives him the chance to. And he has kind of like created a standard for actors of lower stature, I guess, but just for actors, period. Good acting. And we need that standard because there's a lot of actors out there that are just pretty to look at, but there's no skill behind it. There's no skill behind it. And this man is an amazing fucking actor. And he's played all different kinds of roles, in all different kinds of
genres.
And exactly, of genres and movies, and he's still killing it. I mean,
that's
I was
like
reading
about the
something
British
about
actors. The British actors, they're ready for everything. Comedy, action, drama. When I'm here
the preparation
to
is
act.
deeper.
They got more range. Yeah.
Yes, they have a hell of a lot more range.
Because you get stuck in just one thing, and then what are you? You're that one thing.
Because you're marketable, because that's the Hollywood way, and Hollywood. But in the UK, these people are a lot more prepared when it comes to acting. Yeah, definitely. But it's more because I'm curious. I want to find out more because you can see the struggle, regardless. In all of his roles, it's passionate. So he's gonna live it. You know what I mean? And then when you look at his face, I can see. I don't even want to say. It's just like, I guess I can recognize battle-worn faces when this person has gone through some shit. And they're still going through whatever it is, but they understand those changes, those emotions, and it doesn't really faze them that much because they've gone through some shit. And he seems like a battle-worn man in the sense that he's gone through some shit. He put himself through some shit, and he hasn't squandered it. He's still living it, and he's still doing his thing. And that's something that I'm really interested in seeing. I am attracted to people who persevere.
Yeah.
And he seems like a very perseverant son of a bitch, So yeah, Peter Dinklage.
Wow.
Nice. And what's the scene you would like to see, you think?
There was this one thing, I think I saw it somewhere on Facebook once, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect person. And I'm really curious about his life. And I remember hearing him say stuff like this. He's saying something about him being in an old apartment in Brooklyn with no heat in the middle of winter, taking a $50 gig at a play, but refusing the high-paying leprechaun role. And he's basically saying, you are taking, when you say being lucky, he said, talking about being lucky, people being like, oh, you've been lucky. He's like, you're cheapening the sacrifice that people put the work into. There is no sacrifice. There is no such thing as luck. Luck might be happenstance, but if you're telling me that living in that apartment with no heat, I was lucky, then what the fuck is that supposed to be? No, I worked hard for everything that I have. And you're cheapening my journey, by saying that I'm lucky to be able to get to this place. You're cheapening my journey. And I'm like, yes, tell me more. I want to know about.
Well, that's something that goes around a lot. Nobody sees the hardships that everybody goes through.
Yeah.
They can say, oh, this person inherited all of his money. He's never, but were you there to see everything he had to go through to keep the money?
Yeah.
Because people like that, not only do they inherit the money, they inherit the debt. And that's a background thing that nobody sees. Everybody sees Kevin O'Leary, the guy, who's a fucking billionaire. What about the time that he fucking lost all his money?
He went bankrupt, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then built himself up again smartly. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of hidden things, a lot of hidden stories. And piggybacking on hidden stories. I wanted to, obviously, my uncle, my great-granduncle, Don Fidel Vélez, very interesting individual. anybody and everybody in Jauco and in Sabana Grande that even mentions him with nothing but respect. You know, I've had people that I never thought in 1,000 years would speak to me because they're so high above the ladder on the uh, revolutionary ladder, if you want to call it like that, or movement for Puerto Rico ladder. And wait a minute, you're who? Wow, how are you? And wanting to shake my hand. And it's like, whoa, hold on, what the hell is this? But you can't talk. There's three names that I feel are very much tied into each other. So I wouldn't be able to see a movie on just one. It would pretty much be the trilogy, and that would be Betances, Fidel Vélez, and Albizu Campos.
Okay.
One after the other in that order, because you have the person who is considered the main, what is that they call him, the instigator of the revolution against
el
the I absolutely love the way that Juan Riestra explains it. Betances was the real Bruce Wayne. You know, he would take his money and go out and pretty much buy the freedom of, not pretty much, he would buy the freedom of slave kids at their moment of baptism, because for some reason that was the only moment that it was legally allowed.
That was the loophole.
So he would go and, okay, he got baptized. Here's your money. Give me the kid. Make sure he gets an education, take him back to his family, or do whatever wrong, and make sure he has an actual future to become an individual, not what they want.
Mm-hmm.
You had great grand uncle Fidel Vélez, who is a jíbaro. He is that I've been able to figure out, to study on, to actually out of all the information I've accumulated, I've only seen him to be the one who did not have any influence outside of Puerto Rico. Nah, he didn't live out there. He didn't have anybody financing his shit from out there. He didn't study anywhere. He didn't fight in any army or anything like that. 100% jíbaro puertorriqueño. You know what I'm saying? And then both men started something that Albizu finished. Well, we'd like to say finished, but for now we'll say finished. What was it, 60 years afterwards? So it's like every 60 years you had this new personaje coming out, this new character that had ties with the one before it, yet they weren't family, all for the same cause. And it's a cause that a lot of people are still fighting for today. But it's something that we only get half-ass information, and I think we deserve our Braveheart movies, and those will be the three guys. That's my second round out there.
Mira, ten cuidado, because Braveheart is notorious for like just tons of historical inaccuracies. So,
well,
right,
you know
but
what?
it's Mel Gibson.
I know. I'm just saying though.
Let's say if we would try to make a movie out of it right now. Somebody's watching this and they send us millions of dollars so we can make a movie on these three men right now. There eventually, at least 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there's still going to be somebody calling bullshit on something, because there's still a lot of things either that haven't been mentioned, that are kind of iffy, you know, and or we just don't fucking know. We literally don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
You know, you could say, shit. How about nobody talks about this? You'll hear about, they'll touch up on the beef between Albizu Campo and Muñoz Marin, but they won't tell you what a lot of old school revolutionaries will tell you face to face, because I've seen them when they were still alive saying it face to face, that Muñoz Marin had opium growing in front of the fucking Puerto Rican White House. He was a dope fiend.
Yeah.
So the way the Americans got to him was, look, you either sell out your boy, because they were boys.
Yeah.
You sell out your boy, or we're going to blow you up, yo. And this was going down. You're going to be our puppet. Say yes, sir, and just keep it moving.
And what's the scene, the one scene you want to have burned in your brain forever?
You know what? I'm not too sure. because there's quite a few during this. Because remember,
I'm like,
we're
yeah,
talking
there's
at.
a lot.
I mean, he
Yeah,
already
we're talking so many things that happen. Look, as far as Betances, let's be real. The man coming from supposed high society, coming down to the lower society, and this is all in quotes, the lower society, which is really still his people.
yeah.
And that's the way he sees it. Coming and buying children, dude. It doesn't matter if it's for good or for bad. Listen to this. The man was literally buying human life.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's an impressionable moment right there.
That's true.
You know? As far as granduncle, the moment where they find out that, look, there's a rat in the organization, which we want to say rumors only because there's nothing written down, but a lot of people will agree that the rat in that battle, nobody thought he was going to be a rat because his father died for the Grito Lares, which was the first one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? You see how it ties in? So nobody thought it was him. Yet there's another hero, a folk hero called Águila Blanca. And there's certain facts that if you look at it, Águila Blanca might actually be the rat.
Oh.
This is one of those
Aren't
things
they
that
making a movie about Águila Blanca right now?
They're actually making a movie of Águila Blanca as if he was a hero.
I'm sorry, I stole your thunder there. I apologize.
Don't hit Sandy, spoiler alert.
The moment as far as Fidel Vélez is concerned, I would say when they tell him, look, they know we're coming, and he goes, well, let's not keep them waiting. And then his wife came out with the Puerto Rican flag, unfolded it, put it on a pole, and said, here. He got on his horse, and that was the first time the Puerto Rican flag was ever flown in the air.
That's the time I want to see, when Titinati gives him the flag.
And then when Albizu, yes, you can say there's many moments of Albizu. Albizu did like 27 years in jail, getting radiation tested on him. What more do you want? But at the same time, you have another thing that's tied in with Albizu, that Albizu wasn't even there. And it was, I forgot his name. It was pretty much Albizu's confidant,
like
and
his right-hand man.
barber. And that one barber got into a shootout with a whole bunch of cops. And the cops were posting on radio, look, we have a whole gang of them up in this barbershop, blah, 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 blah. And what he did, he felt that because his dad had died in battle.
Okay.
And he felt he never got an opportunity to truly show how patriotic he was. And when he found out that they were coming for him, he started taking all the hidden guns and putting them in different parts of the barbershop. So he would shoot from here, then go to the other side, shoot from there, go to the other side, shoot from there. Pretty much the beginning of The Patriot.
Yeah, okay.
He was shooting from different trees out of a barbershop, had him going for hours. And a lot of people say that he went out the way he wanted to because the building fell on him. They shot up the building so much that pieces of the building fell on him. He did not die by American military bullets. Fuck you.
I like that. Yeah,
There you go. That's my second round.
leave it to Joy to have 3 individuals and 3 favorite scenes for his entry.
You asked, and it's like honestly, out of the 3, you can't have Albizu that happened all the way over here, the 1950s, 1940s to 1960s, between there, without having what happened in the 1890s, without having what happened in the 1850s. It's just
a thread with too many knots.
A big shit line going across.
A
big zebra stripe going across the underwear of PR.
I got you.
Your turn.
So for mine, let's see. We
anybody who's watching, if you have any ideas of whatsoever, you know what I mean, just throw it out there.
Yeah, put it in the comments for real. So let's see. With Sandy, we went to the U.S., then Hawaii, then Puerto Rico. For mine, we'll go to Japan for just a little while.
Oh.
Yeah.
That'd be
we
fine.
won't talk about karate, Joey. Don't worry. So
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai never die. Now you have to remember that Japan was like super isolated, and that's what they wanted. They refused to have any sort of contact with the outside world for the longest time. So guns and Christianity and shit like that for the longest time, when it was touching a lot of other corners, it wasn't touching Japan.
Oh, I'm not gonna put this up yet. Hold on to that. Let me put this up because I agree, and I knew John was gonna throw this one up there.
Yeah, I agree too.
John, write in the comments why you think they should make a movie of that dude. Go ahead, John.
Entonces,
I got John and John.
Right. Entonces, when they finally started opening their doors and shit in the middle of their giant civil war, where like just like Hawaii, all the little islands were fucking up each other up, and everybody wanted to be, the big cheese and shit. There was a Jesuit missionary who went there to spread Christianity and whatever, have his agenda, and he brought a slave.
So they opened up, and the first thing they did was try to put religion in there.
That's imperialism. You gotta start somewhere.
Right. Okay. Go ahead.
So he brought a slave there. This slave was not only the first person of African descent, but he actually became the first, and as far as we know, the only outsider and African to actually become a samurai. Now, a samurai isn't simply like a soldier. It's, you're born into it. You can never be a peasant and then work your way up and get promoted to a samurai. Nah, you're born into a noble family of samurais, and that's the only way you become a samurai, period.
Right.
So this was like a
whoop.
Huh?
I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So
No.
Right. So yeah. So this was a big deal. An outsider becoming a samurai, unheard of. So he was they never seen black people before. So people were like fascinated, like, yo, look at this guy. He's tall as fuck. He's black. What is this? They like tore down the door of the house he was staying at to look at him. People literally got trampled and died from like the crowds trying to like take a peek at him and shit.
Wow.
And yeah, and he caught the attention of a vassal who eventually introduced him to Oda Nobunaga, who was the think of him as the Simón Bolívar of Japan.
Okay.
Because he basically like unified all the islands. There wasn't a lot of liberating. He was very much an asshole, to be honest. But anyway, he ended up unifying or starting the unification process, and he got very interested with this guy. He ordered his servants to like scrub him down to prove that he's not covered in ink or mud or whatever. You have to understand, they have never because we live in this world that's completely connected, right?
No, I do understand. I'm just trying to put myself in his situation where they're rubbing his skin dry, and raw, trying to take away the pigmentation of his skin. They're not going to stop until they see blood.
Yeah,
this is what I'm trying to think. I'm like, oh my God, not because what are they doing? It's like, dude, they're gonna
if they actually went that far to actually pull out blood. Because if they didn't, if they just continuously tried to bathe them to get it off, then imagine him. He's like, yo, I went from being a slave to these motherfuckers bathing me. Hold on. No, for real.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And I looked at like
oh shit, King Joffrey up in this motherfucker.
I looked at like 3 or 4 sources, and none of them say anything about blood. So I want to imagine he was thinking what Joey was thinking.
Well, I hope so. I hope you know me. I'm always gonna go for the dark shit.
No doubt. So they told him like, yo, Nobunaga, this dude, look how tall he is. He has the strength of 10 men, blah, blah, blah. So he developed a friendship with this, strange man that has never been seen before. And he ended up becoming one of his most loyal servants. He made him a samurai. He gave him money, a house, and a katana, which is the sword. So just like Joy was saying, 2 months ago, he was a slave, and now he has his own house, his own title.
Wait, this is when?
16th century, so like the 1500s.
Dude, that's a lot deeper than what it even sounds like, because katanas were custom made.
Yeah, and they were
time, so that's his katana. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
you know how the old blacksmiths say, swords aren't made, they're born.
Yeah.
That weapon was born for that man. That's
Yeah.
fucking deep, dude.
Exactly. And they're considered like the soul of the samurai and all that. So yeah, no, it's a big deal. So he went from being a slave to having his own house, his own money, his own title. And he when Nobunaga was betrayed,
And he stayed in Japan, right?
well, when Nobunaga was betrayed and they had the giant battle where he eventually committed suicide to not get caught, Yasuke fought till the end. Like when it was completely obvious that there was no hope whatsoever of winning, he was still going. It got to the point where like they captured him. There was no other way and forced him to give up his katana. And when they were executing motherfuckers, they spared him because one of the Jesuit missionaries begged for it, and they were like, I mean, he's not Japanese anyway, so whatever, he can go. As far as we know, and that's why we need to find more information, and this is the shit that annoys our professor friend. There's not much information on what happened after. Supposedly he lived the rest of his days with the Jesuits, pero honestamente no se sabe. But he had a supremely interesting life. And
Wow.
a lot of people,
Yeah.
and a lot of people might give me shit because Netflix has an anime talking about him, and they took so many artistic liberties, and they added magic into it and made it just like completely nothing to do with the history. It feels like a cookie cutter anime with the mandatory magic and whatever.
Okay, hold on,
with
hold
the
on,
black
hold on.
character.
I've seen not a lot, okay, because I have a life, but I've seen some Jap animes, right? And it's like there's always a token tall black guy in there. Is that giving reference to him?
Not necessarily.
Good question.
Because you'll only see one, and
Mhm.
he happens to be the biggest, strongest.
Yeah. Not necessarily. It's just obviously it's not to the same level as like the 16th century, but people in Japan still have a fascination with like just non-Japanese people. So like if you're black and you go there with braids, people are gonna stare at you, and not like in a malicious way. It's just like I have never seen that before. You know what I'm saying? So that shock factor, they kind of like put it in there as kind of to.
You've gone through that.
I understand that because when I started teaching, most of my kids have never seen a Puerto Rican up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
So they were curious about everything. They were curious about where I was from. They were curious about my hair. They were curious about what kind of food I ate.
What you ate, yeah.
It just is like they were just curious, So I was like, I'll answer your questions or whatever, but I also wanted them to not be obsessed about the race. I was like, why don't you ask me more about where I come from, what kind of food I like to eat, what we do on a lazy Saturday or something like that. Ask me those kind of questions. Those are more important than what bloodline runs through.
Exactly.
But
we have here
Juan
Peyor. This is talking about Roberto Clemente. He is an icon, bro, period. The best body baseball best body baseball player, hands down, ever. And in a time of racism, like Jackie Robinson, he was a humanitarian, died doing good for the people, yet he was with his side piece, yet nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, I would love
it.
to add on to that. I'm not a baseball fan at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only thing I know about Roberto Clemente is that there's a stadium in Puerto Rico named after him, and there's an image of him, a statue right in front of it.
Nice.
And they mention him.
You think about it, it's kind of a shame because we don't know of him. We've heard of him. We don't know of him because of the baseball. But apparently, there is a lot more to the man than just baseball. But I'm gonna be real. The most you'll hear about him, like in the context, it won't be in the humanitarian part. At least in my experience, it'll be because of the baseball part.
Yeah, in my experience too.
His average, his batting, his this, his that. And so if there's more to it, it's nice to have stuff like that. People who like, look, he was a humanitarian. He used to do, rather than just keep it baseball, because those people who don't like baseball won't. I read something that he's really a god in Pittsburgh more than in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. I heard they haven't retired his number or something like that. I don't know.
That's cool.
Wasn't he an advocate for civil rights during the time of segregation and stuff like that?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it at all.
I can believe it.
I
That
wouldn't
part
doubt
I
it at
have
all.
heard. That part I have heard, that he was an advocate, and he was, he was an activist in that sense, that not only was he a humanitarian, but he was also an activist for civil rights.
I mean, at that time, as much as people are complaining and revolting in the US, at that time it was a lot different.
Oh,
It
hell
was
yeah.
it was rough, and it was pretty much like either lay down belly up and just deal with it, or you needs to go out there and handle your business.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
true.
really rough. So Sandy, round 3.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So
That's
not
an
too
immediate
far
uh-oh.
away, not too far away from the timeline that John mentioned, but I'm bringing us back to the Caribbean. I'm bringing us back home. Because I feel that we have a rich in history, and we have a lot of heroes and heroines, and we're not getting enough. Those stories haven't been told, because storytelling is a dying art, and I'd love to bring that back.
No doubt.
So everybody, especially if you live in the South, you know about him. Agüebaná Segundo el Bravo. That is the person that I would like to, and the reason why I'd like to say it, because we've had quite a few revolutions in our island, and they have not been told. You
Was
know
that
what I mean?
1511?
1511. Yep. 1511. So that was Agüebaná Segundo. Agüebaná was a chief, a cacique, right?
Mhm.
One of the major caciques in the island. So you have every little, there was like yucayeques, you have all these little caciques and whatnot of that little clan, but then you have like the big caciques, so there's like a hierarchy
Mhm.
that the Taínos had, and Agüebaná was definitely one of them. And when the Spaniards came in, Agüebaná was one of the ones that said, hey, being a good Taíno, welcome to my home. But the issue was that the Spaniards, took over home, stood home too long. And Agüebaná Segundo, which was his brother and another cacique, said, no. Esto no me huele a gods or anything like that. These guys ain't gods. So he was the one that said, este como que, I don't know, something's kind of fishy. Why don't you grab a couple of guys and see if these assholes really are gods? And he was the one that sent his troops to go and test to see if the Spaniards are really gods.
Mhm.
And
Did he ask for Diego Salcedo specifically?
I don't know if he asked for Salcedo specifically, but that's what I wanted to. That's what I'd like to get into more research on. Did he ask specifically for this one?
Because
One
it's
of them
already
got away.
gangsta as hell, but that would be just
Yes,
like
it is.
gangsta
He
on
said,
another
these
Yeah,
guys
level.
say they're
because
gods.
Let's
Let's
test
find
if
out.
they're gods. Let's start with that motherfucker.
Yeah,
Bring me him.
literally calling him out, like calling him out.
Yeah, he called them out, and he sent 3 troops to go ahead. He talked to another cacique in Añasco, and which is, so you see, they're in Ponce, but they had communication throughout all these other pueblos. So they talked to another cacique in Añasco, and they went to Aguada, which is the town neighboring ours where we grew up in, and sent them to drown one of the Spaniards to test to see if he'd come back.
I don't
gods,
know if
right?
you know this, and we're gonna go back to the drowning because I want you to repeat that because I just love that part of the story. But before I forget, Puerto Rico was separated in between 4, 5 sections at most, right? Between the
Regions?
caciques, regions.
I think so. I can't really say.
Where this
I
is
honestly
just
don't.
not a lot. People from Puerto Rico are so used to listening to coquis that a lot of them don't even realize this. It took me decades to realize this. Not all coquis across the island sing the same way.
No,
So
they're different species depending on
it's
where they're at.
cool. It's cool to think. I'm not sure if it's right or not, but it's cool to think that each one's region would end where the coquis sound different.
When they get different accents.
That would be cool.
Because you don't have. It's not like they have fucking maps.
Historical fiction.
I like
to be
that.
able to remake that movie and play with the sound of the coquilles. Estamos aquí because this is the sound this is the pueblo, we're in this territory because the coquis sing this way, you
Yeah,
know,
I like that.
or you won't hear the mucaro here, but we can hear the mucaro from this point on. So now we know that we're in this area, and that does ring true in a sense. You can tell where you're at depending on the sounds of nature.
That's true.
So
Yes.
what are
So
they gonna
go
do?
back to what did they do when they grabbed the Spaniard?
So they went ahead, they went ahead and they grabbed the Spaniards. They grabbed three Spaniards, um, and they drowned Salcedo, which was one of the Spaniards. I think one of the captains or whatever. By this time, the Spaniards and the Taínos were intermingling in the sense they were, trying to live together, so to
Hmm.
speak. But Aguevana Segundo was like, this shit ain't, nah, these guys have another agenda. I'm not buying it. And he was the one that started the revolt. So in light of that suspicion, he went ahead and he drowned those men. One of them was mortally wounded, but didn't die, and was able to get back to Caparra, and then let the Ponce de Leon know, and Ponce de Leon led the attack against the Taínos. So it's really interesting to see that. I was like, oh shit, because when living in Aguadilla,
Mm-hmm.
um, Ponce de Leon, and Ponce. I mean, the whole fucking town is named after him.
Yeah.
Ponce de, Los Leones de Ponce. And it's like, wait a minute, but Agüebaná was from that same town too. So who are you hailing? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting to see the two sides of the story. You still see that Spanish pride of conquering, right? And at the same time, what about the Taino pride of taking back what's ours and defending your home? So I just find that really interesting to put the other perspective into place. And I would love to see that scene is when they drown Salcedo. That's the one I want to see. I want to see the panic. I want to see the look on Aguivana Segundo's face when he's like, I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do this, because he led the revolt and he had like 10,000 Tainos against 80 to 100 Spaniards. The
God.
problem was that the Spaniards had firepower and the Tainos couldn't fight against that. So it
Fire,
was just,
Unfortunately,
firepower and disease.
and
but
the
the Tainos,
marshal,
even
the
after
mar
they killed Aguebana, hold on, even after they killed Aguebana, and they assumed it was him because they killed the Taino that had the gold um medallion, and that's the symbol of the chief of the tribe. The chief of the
Mhm.
tribe is what um that holds the gold medallion. That's what brought the and kept the Spaniards there, is because of the gold. Um, so they assumed that they killed Aguebana Segundo because he was the one holding the medallion. But his followers, his troops, continued with the war for another 8 years using guerrilla tactics
Yeah.
with nature. So remember that idea that you had about that was true.
The
That part was
unfortunate thing
true.
is that they were before the Spaniards, they were already losing against the Caribes. Their
Yeah.
martial technology just wasn't up to par for the things they were up against.
Yeah.
Not just their weapons, just their tactics of fighting.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, just wasn't there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Carmen says, "I'll pay to see the Tainos drown the Spaniards." I'm saying though, it's just something. It's like I feel that if we were able, I think that eventually we were going to get to this point where we would have all this technology, we would have a lot of things, but we would have a better understanding of living with nature instead of against it. Had our
Uh-oh.
Yeah, am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we would have things. Our lives would have been a little different if, because I'm sure that our Tainos, we are our ancestors, so we're still fucking here. And so that we don't exist. That fuck that, we're still here. But I think that if our ancestors wouldn't have not been annihilated as swiftly as they were, and would have been in charge, we would have gotten to where we were at. We weren't going to be in the dark ages, which is what a lot of people like to claim,
Yeah.
with the progress and commerce. And I was like, nah, I think we would have gotten here faster. And I think we would have gotten here better, where we would have found a way to get to where we're going, living with nature.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't see why not. because we're still trying. We are here. So we're still trying to do it, to live with nature. It's just that other people have other agendas, which is what's holding us back. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there eventually, because pues, cuando llega el gran Yomiji, eso va a llegar.
So my turn in this one. I'm even like this for this one.
Oh shit.
Shit.
Now, what I had in mind for my third round, fictional, but based on real people. Because the attitude of these three individuals is too easy to turn them into superheroes, because many of us do see them as superheroes.
Okay.
And also piggybacking on the one that we don't see enough about women, I want a superhero movie with 3 women in it. I want Mariana Bracetti, El Brazo de Oro. She's the one that sewed what we now know as the Lares flag, which was the revolutionary flag. She was also, though I don't know to what extent she would that, but she was involved in the Grito de Lares.
Okay.
Okay. You have I forgot her name. How can I forget her name right now? Hold on. Is that it's I have it right here. Blanca Canales.
Okay. Is this lady?
Yes.
Blanca Canales.
Yeah. She helped spearhead the revolt in Jayuya. I believe they took the town for 3 days. They tried to pin 3 murders and wounding another officer on her in that fight. Yes.
Revolt against whom?
I believe that was already the Americans. Yes, it was the Americans, because that is the battle.
We're going back and forth, so it's like
right.
That is the moment where we say there was only once where America bombed its own people. It was in Jayuya. Not only was there heavy land artillery, they sent in bomber jets, dude.
Oh shit.
To bomb that shit, because they were holding it down. So the Americans say that she has bodies, but all of her co-conspirators, you would call it, will say no, she does not. What she was doing while everybody was fighting and holding down the town, she rolled up the Puerto Rican flag in the middle of the town, in the middle of the gag law, and was speaking and giving motivation to the fighters while they were fighting.
She was rallying the troops?
Yes, sir. While it was going down.
Oh shit. That's gangster.
Right there, not moving, in the middle. Dude, that's and obviously my queen of queens, Lolita Lebron.
Yeah, I knew that one.
You know what I mean?
We all knew that one.
This woman
right.
The Congress licked a couple of shots. You know what I mean? We're here to die for our patriotism. You're gonna listen to us. I bet you hear us now. You know what I mean? And to see this woman after she's already out of jail, when she's old and stuff, and look at everybody and like, my time for holding a gun is past. Now, a gun doesn't necessarily have to shoot a bullet. It shoots knowledge. It shoots caring. It shoots planting. I'm too old to shoot. Where the fuck is your rifle? Put it up and start shooting. Dude, the plaza went ape shit. I wanted to go ape shit. I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. I know I had to do something. You know what I mean? So those 3 women as superheroes would just, I mean, Mariana Bracetti alone, El Brazo de Oro. True, was because she would sew, but that's already a superhero name.
It is, yeah.
And no matter where you go in Puerto Rico, Lolita is a superhero fucking name. Lolita Lebron. Ooh. So yeah, as far as what would be like the moment in that movie,
the scene, yeah,
it's fictional, so I don't know. I would like to know more about Blanca Canales. I would like to know more about Mariana Bracetti. But my personal on real life moment of my life movie was the day I actually met Lolita Lebron. And she looked at me and like a typical, Puerto Rican old lady, Nene, ¿de quién tú eres? He looked at me and said, ¿de quién tú eres?
Whose kid are you?
And I told her, I'm, you don't know my parents. They're named this and that. But I'm Don Fidel's great grandnephew. This woman looked at me. She sized me and she scanned me from top to bottom. I was like, I'm ready to thump this bitch. What the fuck, yo? She like stared at me top to bottom. See,
hold on.
What?
Your mom posted something about
was my friend's great aunt. All right, well then get her up on here.
Yeah, I gotta talk to her.
So she looked at me from top to bottom. She goes, "Yep, you are. Walk with me." And for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, I was her personal bodyguard. And I walked around with Lolita Lebron's hand. The same hands that went into motherfucking Congress and let niggas know what's up and lick shots in that motherfucker was holding on to my arm for support. That's my moment. I stopped very illustrious dudes. Ruben Berrio himself walked up to her to say hi, and he clapped my hand, my big ass gorilla hand on his chest. I do. Until she says yes, you're not getting anywhere near this woman. And without knowing her, without being family, I still felt so attached where if at that moment I had to give my life, that's what was going down. But I was responsible for that part of history and the island. And that still is my moment as far as Lolita Lebron in this movie of life.
So Ruben, for context, Ruben Berrios is a politician of the for the Independent Party in Puerto Rico at the time. He was actively running as a politician at that time. So he's well known within the community and is expected to run up to Lolita because, same interest and all that stuff. And nobody was running up to anybody near Lolita unless she said so.
Joy don't give a fuck.
Hell no.
No, never did.
So guys, this was fun. We already hit the hour.
Wait. John didn't give his number 3, did you?
Oh no, I got one more. My number 3.
Oh shit, because I still got another one too.
My number 3 is actually the one that like this inspired this idea. Like I'm reading about this person and I'm like, why has nobody fucking made a movie about this interesting fucking life, or at least a comic book? Give me a comic book at least, bro.
You're not gonna say yourself, are you?
Myself. I was born in no. So we're gonna go to France this time. 17th century. I literally had to do research to pronounce her name, but it's Julie W. It's D apostrophe and a whole bunch of shit. Julie W. She was a 17th century. And remember, this was like the Victorian times, very conservative and shit. But she was a 17th century badass, bisexual French opera singer and master fencer.
Interesting.
She was born into wealth. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
Okay.
This sounds familiar.
Okay, she was born into wealth. Her dad was the Grand Squire of France. He basically was in charge of training the king's soldiers, and he maintained the royal stables. This is who trained her from like a young age. So obviously she was gonna be a kick-ass. She literally lived a life of doing whatever the fuck she wanted to because people specifically told her, no, you can't do that. You're a woman. You have to think about your family and blah, blah, blah. She's having affairs with her dad's boss, which incidentally got her dad promoted. But anyway, she discovered she has a talent for singing. She would do this thing where she would have little performances in the street or on plazas where she would sing a song. Very nice. And then she would be like, anyone in the audience I challenge that wants to challenge me to a sword fight, I'll beat your ass. Whenever somebody raises their hand to challenge, she would first sing a song, making fun of them and humiliating them. And then they would have their little duel and she would whoop their asses. She's known for killing, or at least at the bare minimum, wounding a minimum of 10 men. She's been jumped by 3 guys at least twice from like records that we have. And my absolute favorite story about her was how she fell in love with this girl and they were dating for a while. And when that girl's dad found out, oh, we can't have lesbians. That's bad. Blah blah blah. So he banished her to a Coventry, like where nuns go. A convent, yeah. Convent. There you go. Don't shake your head. I'm learning. So
No.
I'm not shaking my head at that. I'm shaking my head like, yeah, okay, let's send Elton John to jail.
Right. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. So she was banished to become a nun. When Julie found out, Julie went to that same convent and applied to be a nun. She did the whole thing, made her oath, whatever, boom. Yeah, that's not inaccurate. She so when she got to this convent and became a nun,
Eartha Kitt should be another one.
She was on my list, but I took it out because they did make a movie recently. I haven't seen it yet, and so I'm waiting.
Okay. Once you tell us if it's bad or not, then we could be like, nah, they gotta remake it. So she went to this convent to get Shorty back. When she actually literally became a nun to do this. When she found Shorty, she burned down the convent as a distraction so they can escape, and then stayed with her for like a month.
Let me ask you something. Do you have any information as far as
all that work for just a month?
Yeah.
Do you have any information on her fighting skills? Because this story sounds familiar, but I think it was a documentary that I was watching, and they were talking about people who were ported to their system, like they gave a lot, like jujitsu with the Kimura.
Sure, yeah.
Kimura is actually named after something Kimura, who was an actual dude who started bringing in that submission skill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if it's the same person, I think something about her style, actually fencing now does it that specific way because of her.
Right. I was running short on time with my research, so I didn't see any specifics on her fighting style. I know that her dad, who was in charge of training the royal pages, started her training.
And it was like fencing. She would fence, like use the thrust a lot, right? I think that's what it was that they were talking about. Her sounds funny, right?
Yeah.
Lesbian, and we're going to talk about this. Her thrusting game was on the one.
Yeah. I would have to get back to you, but I know that, she got trained by her dad. She had a boyfriend at the time who was a fugitive murderer who taught her who gave her some pointers. She's been like in a million street fights, so there's the sparring aspect of things.
Bad bitch vibes.
Bad bitch vibes, and it has been confirmed on a minimum of 2 occasions that she can whoop multiple opponents at the same.
Well, that's something that hasn't gone away. Like you have a gym full of dudes. There's only a few females.
Yeah,
Dudes automatically think that they're taken to the fight game better. Then when they see that their sisters are coming up, you know what I mean, and getting just as good, if not better, now they feel some type of way.
They feel threatened. Yeah. And it was especially bad back then when girls were.
We've seen it in Puerto Rico as soon as, what was it, about 10 years ago? We had this one girl, we're trying to bring up her self-esteem. One day she let it go and front kicked this kid across the room into a bunch of tires. Ass in the hole, feet up, cartoon shit. Ass in there. Completely changed her, but he felt some kind of way about it for a while till he realized, wait a minute, this bitch got some nasty kicks. I need to protect myself from the kicks. I'm working with her. And then they were able to mesh and grow together. But until that moment, he had to go through a bad situation. He got kicked hard.
No doubt. But yeah, as far as her fighting style, I got to get back to you. But she was definitely up there. And she was the star attraction at the Paris Opera. She was a badass. The scene that I would like to see, the whole nunnery being burnt down thing. But I would also like to see, just because it's funny, when she worked at the Paris Opera, one actor was being a dick and bullying this actress friend of hers. So she basically defended her honor and was like, "Yo, leave my friend alone." When dude left the opera, she was in the street waiting for him and was like, "I'm a duel for her for her honor. So take out your sword." I don't know if he knew her reputation, but he's like, nah, I don't want to smoke. And he didn't draw his sword. So she beat his ass with a wooden cane and stole his watch. Then the next day, people are like, bro, you got two black guys, you all beat up. What the fuck happened? Nah, I got jumped. 3-4 motherfuckers. I don't know. It was cold as fuck. They whooped my ass and it was horrible. It was horrible. And as he's finishing that story and it's starting to get people's pity, Julie shows up and is like, I got your pocket watch right here from that time I whooped your ass. Just me with no friends. So why don't you tell the truth?
Righteous.
Yeah, she was a bad bitch.
Bad bitch vibes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a bad bitch right there.
Righteous. Have they ever made
That
a
was
movie
a
with
good
Janis
one,
Joplin?
John. That's a good one to close with.
Well, wait a minute. I want to throw a closing one in here. Just a little bonus one that I still think I'd even, and I don't like musicals. I really won't do plays and stuff like that. I mean, I would, but Phantom of the Opera, we finally saw it, and honestly, it sucked camel ass. Nasty, putrefying camel ass.
The only thing impressed me in Phantom of the Opera was this talent of the actual singers.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But other than that, the score sucked. I want to sit down and watch a movie about Ismael Rivera. Maelo. Because Sandy knows I've been talking about this shit for years.
Yeah.
There's so much. A lot of people say, yo, Maelo does salsa, el sonero mayor, which means the head freestyler. Freestyle did not start with hip hop. I'm not going to say it started with music and PR, but the music and PR is a lot older, and we've had this for a long time.
The troubadours are what pretty much started freestyling.
And it had to be in a specific timing and what do you call it? Poetic measure.
Yeah,
metric. Meter.
So he's the head of it. And you had, even when he was in jail, you had people that were already known, people that he looked up to, besides the fact giving them names like El Sonero Mayor, writing music for him. Not ghostwriter shit. It's like, dude, I want you to sing this. I wrote this with you in mind. And yeah, there is nobody with any style as similar to his, because he didn't do salsa, he did bomba.
Gotcha.
He did bomba. And this man, born in Santurce, started from the bottom up, broke as hell. His mom wrote a lot of the songs. So a lot of these songs are things that were actually sung in the street. These were songs that my grandfather would play. My father would play. I play. My kids know and eventually will play. And it'll outlive each and every one of us, and I believe he's underrated because most people are like, Salsa Puerto Rico, who are you going to say? Hector Lavoe, Mark, it's like, well, time out, man. Why do we always got to start with him? You know what I mean? What's this other dude from Mayagüez? Frankie Ruiz. And it's like, my man, what about Maelo? Oh yeah. All the guys that you looked up to him. You know what I mean? My man would improvise. He gave you one hell of a freaking show. Worked with like 6 different bands. Wouldn't let go of Cortijo. Cortijo made bands just so he can keep occupied and keep the doors open. So when Maelo came out of jail, he had him. Come on, you got work. He started at 17. To the day he died. He's the first one to actually go up and, Salsa's making videos. Let's go to the Perla. Dude, you want to what? Those are my people. You know what I mean? Constantly telling people, be proud of being black.
Yes.
Whoever says you're not black, don't get mad at them. Turn around. They don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's one person who I'd really, really like to see a movie about. It'll have his very dark moments,
Sure.
you know, because he did have his demons with the heroin and all that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was common at the time. You know,
And
like,
women.
yeah, and like every good Puerto Rican, he would go to the dark side, then go to church, and then go back to the dark side. I've seen it. I don't know how many times. You know, it's just an ongoing thing down there. But yeah, it's a very interesting individual. It's a person where his music, whether it was written by him or not, he wouldn't just sing it, he'd interpret it. He'd take you to the time, and you can almost see the campos around you. You can see the perla around you. You can actually place yourself in the time and place of Puerto Rico that he is singing about through his music. The other thing is the way he plays with the rhythm of the syllables of the words that he is singing. It's as if he was playing the congas. Like he was just soloing, you know what I mean? And that's something that was thrown into hip hop at the beginning, and I'm a hip hop head to the end, but a hip hop head to the end, not an urban pop / rap, everything other shit.
Yeah.
Pure hip hop, and it's something. It's a skill that has been lost. You had people who had just as many records, if not a little bit more, than Maelo. You know what I mean? People knew their shit too. Yo, you want to go on stage and battle Maelo? Fuck no. Hell no, I'm not getting on stage with them. Let him finish, come off of the stage, and then I'll go up. Point in case, not a lot of people know this, it wasn't under an independent label. Maelo was actually under Fania. So if Maelo was under Fania, how come you didn't hear him with Johnny Pacheco? You didn't hear him with Celia. You didn't hear him with Willie. You didn't hear him with Hector. They didn't want that smoke. Simple as that. They didn't want that smoke. Nah, leave that dude with fucking Cortijo, and that's it, yo. Don't. And the band itself was ridiculously skillful, and this would probably be one of the moments, though it's a fucked up moment. And a lot of salseros don't like when I say this. You can kiss my Puerto Rican ass. I'm gonna say it dead up like this. Boom. One of the moments, the dark moment of that movie, is because the band was so goddamn skillful. One of the members of the band stole the band. They were coming back to Puerto Rico from New York, I believe. Cops went by the whole band straight for fucking Ismael to get the heroin that he had on him. Because one of the band ratted and said that he had the drug, that it was specifically him. Though he wasn't the only one, they went straight to him because of that person. No more than 2 or 3 days afterwards, a new band is started because that guy took half of the band with him and started a brand new band that till this day are considered fucking music heroes in Puerto Rico. That was when Rafael Itiel stole half of the band from Cortijo and created El Gran Combo.
Holy shit.
So all salseros that hear this and don't like this, until you prove me wrong with facts, kiss my ass. That's the way it went down. It sounds like a ghetto story, but you know what? My guys weren't suburban. Cortijo and Maelo were ghetto as hell and brought themselves from the bottom up. They used to play on barrels. Not even congas, on barrels. So that's what's up. That'll be my last bonus one.
Yeah. All right. I would watch that.
Hell yeah, take my money. Besides the fact that soundtrack would be off the hook.
Yeah, that ass.
So guys, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for just hopefully you guys are at home thinking, damn, you know what I mean? What movie would I like to see? You know what? We'll do another one of these. But most importantly, Feliz Dia de los Reyes.
Felicidades. Feliz Dia, Alexis.
Yes. That's part of our culture that's unfortunately being lost. Parrandas are being lost. You know what I mean? Let's make a movie about fucking parrandas coming back.
Yeah.
It was something. One of my cousins posted a picture on Facebook recently. This is my mom's cousin, so I guess she's my second cousin. And she posted a picture of my great grandparents, my grandfather on my mom's side, and from Lares and his wife, right? So my great grandparents. And I'm not sure, but she also put right next to it a picture of the Tres Reyes. Now, my uncle, I remember growing up and going to Puerto Rico, my uncle Faye in Lares, every Reyes, there was always un rosario que le cantaban, había parranda de Reyes, because there was a promise. Now, I think hacían promesa, that's part of the culture, right? That you would like pray to these, they became a deity. That story became a deity and part of the culture, right?
Yeah.
To the point where they would make a promise and said, if I'm asking for this, if it goes through, from that moment on for the rest of my life, I'm going to pay homage to the three kings, because you gifted me with what I wanted. And so I remember Papa Lilo used to do it as well. Yeah, there you go. I remember Papa Lilo used to do it, and my great grandfather used to do it. So now the tradition is, it's been over 100 years in my family, and I didn't know that. Over 100 years,
Nice.
that tradition has been followed through. So the eldest son of any family member has to keep that tradition going, and it's the same figuras, if I'm not mistaken, las mismas figuras que usaban mis bisabuelos.
Oh,
Todavía
nice.
go from generation to
Yeah,
generation.
because you have
So
the
I
three
thought that was really
king.
cool.
That's
Yes, I
tattoos
thought that
and-
was really cool. So I was like, wait a minute, it's a figura, because I saw them and I'm like, they look
Yeah, I was a
familiar.
little when I was like around between 11 and 13. I was a little pyro, so Grandpa would always have me in charge of the candles around the three kings, and I was happier than a pig in shit. That, and it's also tradition. Okay, I've heard people, especially here from the States, oh, my first beer, I played hooky, or my first beer, we hit here. And most Puerto Ricans, your first beer is in the parranda, and it's given to you by a fucking adult, or
Yeah.
they see you digging in the barrel. Yes, a barrel full of nothing but beer and some ice. Cold as fuck, hypothermia instantly, and they're assholes, and they'll tell you, hey, go ahead, go grab a beer, bring me one, but I want it from the bottom.
From the bottom.
You gotta earn your shit. But yeah, you
Yeah.
get pissed drunk and ain't nobody gonna say shit, even though you're 12, 13.
Yeah,
Even though
they
you're
don't care.
12.
I have
12, round about 12 years old. They'll
I
start
ha-
you with coquito at age 5.
right. I have memories of that bottom of the barrel shit. I'm like, here you go, Theo. Here you go.
Oh, you love it. You feel important.
Yeah, for real.
Tipsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a coming of age ceremony, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I'm old enough to do this. Yeah, vale. Only in the party, okay? You know, that was it. That was it. They catch you doing it any other time, that's your ass. But
That's
only
true.
for the parties, and it was everybody, you know.
And it was
where
wonderful.
It's libation. It's part of the tradition.
Yeah.
Pues mira, felicidades. Happy Three Kings Day.
Happy drinking day.
Day.
Guys, and everybody in Puerto Rico, if you have any video clips of parrandas, anything, send it to us.
Send it, please.
Send it
We
to
got
us.
our white Christmas today.
Yeah.
Real snowfall that stuck this time.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah,
since
'cause
Reyes is
Christmas
our
and New
Christmas,
Year's-
it's a white Christmas.
Guess so.
Everybody, have a good one. This was Shoot the Shit. We got John, we got Sandy. We check you all next week. Peace.
Bye.